Well, now joining us here on A's Cast Live, truly one of the greatest players in the history of the game, a three-time World Series champion, a seven-time All-Star, American League MVP, American League Cy Young Award winner, World Series MVP, four-time Rollie's Relief Man of the Year, three-time MLB saves leader. His numbers retired with the Athletics, the Brewers, in the A's Hall of Fame, and, of course, in the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. The great Rollie Fingers is with us once again. Rollie, how are you?
Doing pretty good. I can't complain. I had a back operation about 8 months ago, but I'm just now starting to play some golf. So I really stink on the golf course, but I feel okay though.
But you're back out there swinging. That's all that matters. And obviously, tomorrow is a big deal as you're going to be introducing your good friend Joe Rudy, also a three-time World Series champion, going into the Bay Area Sports Hall of Fame. You're already a member. Just for your guys, your crew, how special is tomorrow going to be?
Pretty special. I mean, Joe. I've known Joe for 60 years. He was my left fielder in Modesto when I played with the Modesto A's, and then he was my left fielder in Birmingham. So we kind of grew up together. So every time I looked over my right shoulder, Joe was out in left field. So he saved my butt many a times. So it's going to be pretty special for me to be able to introduce him tomorrow night.
Rollie, you are our platinum ambassador, and now the A's are moving into your backyard now. How excited about the future and you being even more part of the organization and see them grow right there in Las Vegas?
It's pretty exciting. I didn't get a chance to go down and see the hotel get blown up, the Trop, but they're starting to move some dirt, and it's going to be at least 3 years before they get over here. So I'm excited about it. I'm still working a little bit with the A's, doing personal appearances, and I'm a special assistant to the president, Mark. So they're going to keep me busy, I'm sure, now that I'm living here in Las Vegas and they're coming here. So I'll be busy.
Well, always got to have you around because you mean so much to this organization. And as Shooty said, the move to Vegas is going to be big. And with you right there and right by the side of Mark Bedane, we can't wait to watch this thing grow. Obviously, the A's are taking on the Dodgers right now. That means we got to ask you about 1974, where you guys won the World Series in 5 games. You pitched in 4 of them, 9 1/3 innings, a 1.93 ERA. You were 1-0, 2 saves. So you're the World Series MVP. You guys win your 3rd straight World Series, but especially for you who grew up in Southern California, Dodger fan, what was that like?
Oh, golly. It was pretty exciting for me because, when I was a kid, I would go to Dodger Stadium. I might go maybe 1 or 2 ball games a year when my dad would take me, and I would always sit in the top deck, 4th deck, and we'd get there early enough to where I'd get a seat in the 1st row because it was, wasn't assigned seating back then. So, the first thing I did when I got on the mound is I stood on the mound and looked up where that seat was. It was pretty cool because I was sitting up there watching Koufax and Drysdale pitch, and it was a pretty exciting moment for me to walk on the mound in that first game of the World Series in '74.
Well, Rollie, you were one of the rare guys who could be an all-star as a starter and as a reliever and a Hall of Famer and everything that you did on the field. Our game has changed a little bit when you're talking about pitching, and Townie can be my witness here about how impressed I was when we sat around at fantasy camp and heard you talk about pitching, and never once did you mention velocity. For you to be a part of that staff, so unique, Blue Moon, Vita. I mean, you guys go down as one of the best pitching staffs in baseball. When you look at the way that the game is going, guys blowing out every now and then, nobody goes more than 5 innings. If you had an opportunity to change the way things are trending so that we can trend back to having guys that can go the distance, that can pitch deeper in games, to take the pressure off the bullpen so we'll be healthy toward the end of the year, is there one thing that you would do? Because when I want fact, I'm going to the factual person. And, brother, there was no one better than you doing it. So I would be interested, and I'm sure as baseball fans would be as well, to hear your opinion on that.
Well, when I was pitching, we didn't even have a weight room. I hated weights. The heaviest thing I lifted in the clubhouse was a beer can after the ball game. Maybe that was about it. I didn't do any weights. One thing I did prior to spring training, about a month before spring training, I jump in the pool and I start swimming because the swimming motion strengthens your shoulder, And you really don't want to lift weights, because what you do is you build up muscles when you're lifting weights that you're not using when you throw a baseball. You want to build the muscles up that you throw a baseball with, and the only way to do that is to throw baseballs. And I played on the A's for 9 years, and I think there was maybe only 1 or 2 guys in 9 years of all the pitchers that run the disabled list. We didn't have anybody on the disabled list in 9 years when I pitched there. I wasn't. I know Catfish wasn't, and Kenny Holtzman wasn't, Blue Moon Odom wasn't, but that was just the way it was back then. And you strengthen your arm by throwing a baseball, and I just stay away from weights, and I would do a lot of swimming. I did a lot of swimming just before spring training. That's what I did.
I remember when we were down at fantasy camp and you and I were up on the stage, Rollie, and we were talking to all the campers, and I told the story about how early in your career to make the ball club, you threw a complete game in spring training to make the ball club. But in the end, what a blessing it was. 2 things: moving you to the bullpen and the mustache. Those 2 things changed your life forever.
Yeah, I was, it got to the point in 1971, I was in a rotation, and I couldn't get you out. That's how bad I was. And so Dick Williams threw me in the bullpen. I was more or less a mop-up guy in 71. I was on my way to the minor leagues. And we had a game against the Yankees in New York. We were getting beat like 11-3 or something. And all of a sudden, it's the 8th inning, and we come back. It's 13-11, and I'm the only guy left in the bullpen. He's got to use me or the pitcher coach. And so he runs me out there. I pitched a couple of shutout innings, got a save. We went to Boston the next day. I pitched 3 innings in Boston. Dick Williams got another save, and Dick Williams called me in his office in Boston and said, I thought I might be in trouble or something or whatever. And he said, look, starting from now and from the 6th inning on, I'm going to go to you. And I said, okay, that's fine by me, because that beats the bus ticket to Birmingham or something. So I was happy to be in the bullpen. But back then you didn't really want to be in the bullpen. It was a garbage pile down there for old starters, and that's what I was. But that's when the game really changed. They, organizations started realizing that you need somebody in the bullpen to pitch the last 2 or 3 innings of a ball game. And, that's when Gossage and Sparky Lyle and Kent DeCalvey and all these guys, the organization started realizing that, and they started getting closers.
We're going to switch gears just a little bit. Yesterday they removed the tag on Pete Rose being banned from baseball. You had a little bit of success against that guy.
You had a lot of success against Pete Rose.
Even though he's going to go down as one of the greatest ever with 4,000 hits. When you heard that news, Rollie, tell us about your thoughts.
Well, Pete's been hanging around wanting to get in the Hall of Fame. You look at Pete Rose and what he did on the field, hands down, he should be in the Hall of Fame. But it's the integrity of the game, and I'm not going to be a voter. I'm not a sports writer, and it's going to be up to the sports writers to decide whether or not he can get in or not. But he is on the ballot now because of the ban being dropped. So we'll see what happens. But Pete loved the game of baseball. He loved it more than anything. The biggest problem he had is he loved gambling more than baseball, and that's why he's in the situation that he got himself into. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, the addiction is really, really sad. But, when you think about the Hall of Fame, Rollie, and it's always at the end of July, and we get to see all you guys come together, the greatest players of all time. I always love how they bring you on MLB Network and you do the interviews and everything. Just what is that like? Because you've got that group of players that you guys won 3 World Series together. You guys all grew up together, and then of course you would move on, and you had the great year in Milwaukee. And you played on some good teams there, but there's nothing like being on that team of the Baseball Hall of Fame, the greatest players of all time. So when you guys get together every single year in Cooperstown for the induction ceremony, what is that moment? What's it like being on that team?
Wow. Well, when I first went in, I was a rookie, and when you're a rookie, you don't say nothing to anybody. I'm sitting in there at the dinner, and there's Yogi Berra and Whitey Ford and, Eddie Matthews, Harmon Killebrew, who I pitched against. But all the old timers, I just kind of stayed in the background and just enjoyed myself. That was the first time I really sat in on our Hall of Fame dinner, where it's just the Hall of Famers. And, guys will get on each other, but what's there, what's said in there stays in there. And after a while, you get the new guys come in, and I enjoyed just going to the Hall of Fame and being with everybody and, talking about baseball. And then I like to see them try and get through their speech. That's the hardest speech in the world to get through, is their Hall of Fame speech, without a doubt. I mean, I didn't sleep for 3 days before I gave mine, just thinking about what I was going to say. But, it's fun going there and being with all the guys that are the greats of the game. And a lot of those guys hit home runs off me. A lot of them I got out. But we tell stories. We do have stories.
One thing I'm learning as I start graying even more, Rollie, is that I have to take time and thank people. And I'm going to take advantage of this opportunity like I did yesterday with Joe Rudy. And to be born and raised in the Bay Area here, and for someone to come up and say, hometown boy, done well. And meaning I'm a part of a fraternity that nobody could ever take away from it. It's because of you guys. When you came here to Oakland, I was just a young man in the neighborhood that loved to play baseball and never gotten a chance to see what a professional looked like. And Claudell Washington was our big brother in the neighborhood. And when he made it to the big leagues, it got us a chance to see what big leaguers look like and gave us an opportunity to dream. We went to those games. We got those green bats. We got those green and gold helmets. And then before you know, we had a baseball game in the neighborhood. So thank you so much, Rollie. Appreciate everything you've done for this brand. And I'm just blessed and thankful to be able to say that I know you and that you are a fraternity brother of mine. And I never.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, when we first came to Oakland in 1968, everybody on that team, we all came up through the minor leagues together, and we all hit the big leagues at the same time, right around 69, 70. And the guys that Charlie Finley signed back in the mid-60s, all of them, Catfish, myself, Reggie, Rick Mundy, Sal Bando, Gene Tennis, Joe Rudy, all of us came up through the minor leagues together, and we played together and for a couple of years, and then we really came together in 1971. And from 71 for about 5 years, we were the best team in baseball. So you got a chance to see some real good baseball those years.
Everybody wants to have that model, and I don't think it's talked about enough. Ray Fosse, our beloved Ray Fosse, would always talk to us about you guys because he saw it when he was with Cleveland before he would come over. But as you mentioned, you guys grew up as kids together. You guys all then got married. You had your families. You were more than just teammates. You were brothers. You guys were family because you truly grew up together.
Oh, yeah. And, I think the saddest day for me in baseball was at the end of the 76 season when free agency hit. Charlie Finley didn't want to sign any of us. We were all playing out our free agency and going to different ball clubs. And we knew that was going to be the last time we were going to be together as a team because I think there was like the nucleus of the team, about 8 or 9 guys. We all went separate ways. I mean, Charlie could have kept us together if he just wanted to pay us, and he didn't want to do that. But that was the saddest day for me in baseball. Was the last game of the season in '76 when we all left.
So much is talked about the captain of the team. Ray Fosse. We start talking about catchers, and Langlier's here, the guy that we have. How important was Ray Fosse there for you, Rollie? I mean, he was. When we got into the business, Ray made it as hard as he possibly could, but he made us earn his respect as a professional. And I'm a better man for knowing Ray Fosse. And to get a Christmas card from Carol Fosse is one of my favorites. So the impact that he had on our lives, we don't have enough time to talk about it, but him as a man and you as a man, I'd love to hear about that relationship.
Ray was great. He was great behind the plate. He came out more times. I mean, I might throw one pitch and he would walk out and say something to me for some reason. I don't know. Maybe he saw something in my delivery that didn't look right or something. But he was smart back there. He knew all the hitters. He would watch. He would, there was a lot of times I would shake him off, and he would come back with the same sign, and I'd shake him off, and he'd come back with it again. I said, well, he must know something that I don't. So I just go ahead and throw what he stuck down. But he was a good catcher. Big hands. I mean, he had some meat hooks for hands. And he could.
We know. He tried to break him every time he shook your hand.
He could swallow up your hand. It would take hands with him. But he was strong, and he knew the game back there, and he knew how to call a good game. I usually didn't shake him off a whole lot, but if I did, he was a good catcher.
When you think about the Bay Area Sports Hall of Fame, and obviously tomorrow you'll be with your good friend Joe Rudy introducing him, you think about the 70s and when Shooty was growing up here in the Bay Area, the success that you guys had. Warriors won a championship, Raiders won a Super Bowl. They played in all those historic AFC title games against the Pirates, across the Bay. One of the guys you grew up watching, you loved watching Willie Mays play, and you had McCovey and Cepeda, Marichal. They had great players. The 49ers would kind of get their groove in the early 80s, but just talk about what sports was like and the greatness and all the players and Rick Barry and the Raiders and you guys, all the great players that were playing in the 70s at one time in the Bay Area.
Oh, it was a lot of fun. I would go during the off season when the Raiders were playing at home. I would drive down to the ballpark on a Sunday, and I'd just tell the guard at the gate, "Hey, I'm going to go in and use the weight room." I'd just go right down on the field. So I got to know a whole lot of the Raiders. Freddie Biletnikoff. I know Freddie. He lives here in Vegas. I see him, and knew Ken Stabler and Villapiano. I knew all those guys from just going down. And Rick Barry. I know Rick Barry when he was playing, right across the hall from the ballpark there. So it was nice having all four major sports there. The Seals, they had Charlie Finley had the Seals hockey team there too. And I'd go down and I skated with the Seals team one day. And Charlie Finley found out about that. He said, "You go down there one more time, I'm going to find you $200. I said, "Okay, I'm not going back down there again." He found out I was down on the ice. So it's the last time I did that. But it was fun having all the major sports there in the Bay Area. But right now it's a little slim on the Oakland side.
In your opinion, greatest ball player of all time?
Oh, wow. You're talking. Well, I got to go. Well, I grew up watching Willie Mays. I mean, Willie could do it all. He could run. He could hit. He was fast. He got a great arm. And he was my first big league out. He was my first autograph as a kid. I chased him down at Dodger Stadium in the parking lot. And I chased him down to his car. And I said, "Mr. Mays, would you sign my autograph?" And he signed it, and that was it. And then about 10 years later in the 73 World Series, I'm on the mound, and they announced now hitting is Willie Mays. And I said, "Whoa."
Wow.
And, now I'm facing the guy that I idolized as a kid. It's a little nerve-wracking out there. So I threw him 3 pitches and struck him out on 3 pitches, but I didn't even look at him. I didn't even want to look at him to see if he was looking at me or not.
Now, if he didn't sign that autograph, would you have drilled him?
Well, I told him the story when I went to the Hall of Fame, and I said, "Willie, it's a good thing you said that I signed that autograph that day, or I'd have drilled you." He said, "You drilled me?" He talked real high pitched. And the last thing I'm going to do is hit Willie Mays. So I said, "No, it ain't going to happen."
Rollie,
Willie's definitely up there.
Rollie, thank you so much for the time. It's always an honor. Anytime we ever get to do anything with you, we appreciate it. Enjoy tomorrow night. It's going to be very special for you and your good friend, Joe Rudy. And keep everything going in Vegas for us, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on.